All right, folks. So, we're back. You know how the hell this operates, man. It's Sunday night. And, I got a funeral to go to tomorrow, so I ain't working. On top of that, I'm about to switch my jobs this week, so probably not going to be working this week as far as things is concerned. I got some money in my pocket, so we're all right. I got the bills covered. But in the meantime, I wanted to bring y'all this video. Now, somebody I done seen this. I think it was over on the Gold and Silver Report, something like that. One of these individuals, and I think it's it's one of these channels that I follow. Oh, Money GPS, Money GPS. I haven't seen a lot of his videos as of recently, but he puts up a lot of community things into the YouTube like community channel, little post or whatever. And one of them said, the Fed now owns nearly 1/3 of all U.S. mortgages. Now, that's a scary proposition, right? The truth is there's about $9 trillion in U.S. mortgages, and the Fed owns about $2 trillion of it. So it's not 1/3. Everybody always wants to be all types of ridiculous and nonsensical and bananas and shit about things. Right, but I wanted to actually show y'all what the reality was. So mortgage-backed securities, you can see it says 1.9774,745. Right, that is 1.9 trillion. That's 1,977,745,000,000. Right, because this is in millions of dollars. And the other thing is Treasury notes and bonds. Now, I wanted y'all to take notice of what exactly the deal is. See that $3.712 trillion in Treasury notes and bonds? What that is the Fed using government currency to print money against the Treasury notes it could buy so it could liquidate assets and give to the federal government. This is something that a lot of individuals don't understand, okay? Now, I told y'all before, all right? Like, everybody's like, the Fed's a shadowy industry. It's not true in any way, shape, or form. The Fed's our central bank, all right? That's what it is, all right? And it literally is just there to bail out the government. Because before that, Morgan had to do it. Or some robber baron had to loan money to the United States government. Because if you didn't loan money to the U.S. government, then there was nobody to protect your assets. And somebody would come take them. Like, that's kind of important to understand. So all these banks and bankers and giant tycoons came together and formed the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is basically like this. Rich people own it, but they're just there to bail out the government. All right? And it's a magic trick to say, hey, look, the Fed owes money, the U.S. government doesn't. All right, and literally they loan the U.S. U.S. government money, and collects interest on that money in which it's able to fucking loan to the government. That's the truth, because that 1.977745 number, that 1.9 trillion, 1.9 trillion dollars, okay, is non-performing loans. And this isn't even the first time this has happened. Legit, it's not, all right? So let's read this article a little bit. Nearly $7 trillion in securities, $2 trillion in mortgages. As of August 26, 2020, the Fed's balance sheet is nearly 7 trillion total, which is 3.7 trillion are notes or bonds, and nearly 2 trillion are mortgage, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae. No end in sight to the Fed's mortgage buying spree. And see, they're buying federally backed loans, right? And that's important to understand, because if they're buying federally backed loans, that means that they're buying loans that if the people went bankrupt on, or if the people, walked away from these houses, the government would be on the hook to the banks for them. So the Fed just takes them and puts them on the fucking books. They're literally giving the money, you know what I'm saying, like to the banks for these fucking loans and just holding them. Right? That's what the deal is. Like, the Fed is not performing on these loans. It's that simple. Like, none of this is helping, like, anyone but the fucking government. All right? Because legit, there's no real money like being fucking paid for any of this shit. They bought the mortgage bond completely. Like lock, stock, and fucking barrel. But the people aren't paying for their fucking mortgages. The feds don't collect on the fucking mortgages. Nor do they collect on the fucking rent. So like these people are basically living there scot fucking free. The Fed has snapped up $1 trillion in mortgage bonds since March. It bought around $300 billion of the bonds in each of March and April. And since then, it's been buying about $100 billion a month. The Fed now owns almost a third of bonds backed by home loans in the U.S. Buying the securities has pushed the mortgage rates lower, with the average 30-year rate falling to 2.91% as of last week from 3.3 in early February. Morgan Stanley analyst pointed out in late March that the buying was running at 8 times the pace seen in prior episodes of Fed purchasing under programs known as quantitative easing. Just before this latest round, principal payments from its mortgage bonds holding had whittled down to 21%, but now it's increased back to 30%. If the Fed maintains its current buying pace, it will again own 34% of the mortgage universe by year's end. Okay, so as I said, this is not the first time this has happened. Like everybody like thinks that like it's the first time some shit's happened because we didn't hear about it before, because the news doesn't report this to you. All right, and like unless like you're legit like me or like fucking a lot of these other weirdo nerds, like you don't stand here and really pay this much attention to it to go, oh man, like this is something that we should really be fucking looking at. Like as you can see right here, like the amount of there's 1 heart, no shares on anything else, and 86 fucking comments on this article. Like everyone should know about this. This should be taught in schools. This should be like one of the things that you go over in fucking school. Like, when you go into fucking social studies like this, you should go, hey, look, in economics today, look at this news. This is what's going on because of what the fucking deal is. This is what our banks are doing with quantitative fucking easing and modern monetary theory. This is what it is. All right. As you can see, we've never held $7 trillion in fucking Fed debt. Like, it's never happened. The top end back in 2014 was fucking $4.5 trillion under Obama, 2014, 15, 16, 17. The beginning of fucking Trump's fucking White House, right? And then it was started going down in 2019, whittling away, and then fucking immediately jumped up in the end of 2019 and up into fucking 2020, where, fucking we are today. And beyond. So we don't know where the hell this is going to end up and how much money is going to end up being by the end of this. But it is important to understand, all right, that this is what's going on. The Fed is not a shadowy agency. Yes, we're eventually going to have to pay for all this shit. All right, China's talking about dumping treasury bills. And if the Fed's the only buyer of treasury bills are no longer wanted. We can't have it where we're the only people buying a fucking good, because then it only becomes valuable to us. And that's how your currency ends up getting destroyed and hyperinflated. Right now, we're able to offload our inflation to the rest of the world because they're buying treasury bonds because they have a good yield. But as of the moment, they don't. We started having negative yield on treasury bonds a few months ago, and they really haven't, made a major comeback. So this is something that needs to be looked at, needs to be talked about. And we need to keep on top of this type of shit. In the meantime, Tom Pease with Pnoid News. Wanted to bring you this article, bring you this information. Do some research yourself. Come to me, let me know what the fuck it is you think. All right? Peace be like one of my brothers. Later.